Alright. The name is Dale. Here to do the review of White Boy Rick. I'm also going to touch on pretty quick about season 2 of Ozark that's on Netflix, and also season 2 of Snowfall, which is on FX channel. This review and these recommendations are done on behalf of Audio Liquor Magazine. Okay, I want to start off with White Boy Rick. But before I actually go into a review, it's only right that I talk about Matthew McConaughey, who's one of the stars of White Boy Rick. He's been doing a great job acting. He's one of my favorite actors. He's been putting in some quality work in the last 15 years. You know, from this movie called Gold, which is based on a true story. White Boy Rick is based on a true story. He did a movie called Gold that's very underrated, under the radar, quality movie. I like it. Check that out if you haven't seen it. He also did a movie called Free State of Jones, which is also based on a true story, which the critics killed. They didn't like it, but I don't understand it. I really like the movie. I recommend you check that out if you haven't seen it. Then he was in Wolf of Wall Street. Didn't have a big part, but the role he played made a big impact. He had that catch little that just started trending, and people started doing that in different venues and shows and sports events. And then he was in the first season of True Detective, he killed that, which was highly acclaimed by critics and fans. He got an Oscar for his performance in Dallas Buyers Club, which was my favorite movie that year. He was in this movie called Mud, which was pretty good. Paperboy, Killer Joe, Bernie, Lincoln Lawyer, Interstellar. Even though I didn't like the end of Interstellar, it was good to the end. I thought they overdid it at the end and was outthinking themselves, and it was very confusing and scientific and all that mumbo jumbo. And we're not even going to talk about Dark Tower, which was one of the bad, trashy, garbage movies he did. I ain't going to blame for that, but out of the last 15 years, that's the only movie he did that I've seen that I didn't like at all. So he's been killing it. We're not even going to talk about the classic Time to Kill that he played in back in the 90s and all his work back then. So anytime he's in a movie, my antennas perk. I was like, oh, I got to see it, because I know he's going to give 100% with his acting and his performance. He never mails it in. So him being in this movie just added to my interest and said I had to go see it. So we're going to get into this White Boy Rick review. It's based on a true story. It's about this guy named Richard, aka White Boy Rick. Is in Detroit. It's set in the 80s. White Boy Rick is a teenager during this time. I would say it's about him being a drug dealer from 1984 to about 1988 or 89. Somehow, some way, he becomes an undercover informant for the FBI at the age of 15, I believe. So it has a lot of layers to this story. The critics are giving it mixed reviews, which I don't understand. Before I actually saw the movie, critics were saying that it's slow, it's very slow, and it doesn't get good. It doesn't ramp up till the end, which I totally disagree with. It had me engaged from start to finish. It was very entertaining. The performances, the acting was great. The kid that plays White Boy Rick, this is his first time acting, period. He was never in a commercial, from my understanding, never in no TV shows, nothing. They just pulled him out some high school in Baltimore, did a test and said he's right for the part and put him in the movie. And for this to be his first movie, for him to be the lead actor and basically have to carry the majority of the movie because it's about him, he does a great job. You would never be able to tell this is his first time acting. So I found that amazing. The guy that plays White Boy Rick, the teenager, the kid, his name is Richie. That's his first name. I'm not sure about his last name, but look him up. You know, Matthew McConaughey, like I said, he always brings it. Then you have this girl who plays the sister of White Boy Rick, she does a great job as well. She plays a drug addict and also his sister. Then you had his grandparents, and I thought this movie did a great job of making you care about this family. You was invested in this family. You was rooting for this family. And I also think this movie did a great job of making you believe it's the 80s. It brought you back to the 80s. I was born in the 70s. You know, I was raised as a little kid in the 80s. And it felt like the 80s watching this movie. From the clothes, the atmosphere, the vehicles, everything. They did a great job of making you believe you're actually in the 80s. The music, I love the music all out through this movie. They did a great job of placing funk, disco, and old school hip hop. It wasn't forced. It was put in the right spots. They played joints from Run DMC, Eric B. and Rakim. They played the Schoolie D joint. I went crazy. I was like, oh shit, they playing Schoolie D. Sorry for my language, Mom. When I heard that PSK, I was like, wow, okay. So it's a good soundtrack. I gotta get it. I heard the soundtrack is good. If it's anything like the stuff they played in the movie, I gotta get it. The movie is very funny. I didn't expect it to have the humor that it had. I was very surprised by that. It's not really nothing negative I can say about the movie. And I didn't know anything about this guy, White Boy Rick. And the reason why he got the name White Boy Rick, because he was a drug dealer, like I said before, and all his associates and all the people he partied with and hung out with and were friends with were all black. He was in this Detroit neighborhood, and it seemed like they were one of the few white families in his neighborhood at the time. So that's all he dealt with. So that's how he got the name White Boy Rick, because he's the only white boy hanging with all these black guys. So that was interesting too, and you felt the bond between him and those black folks was genuine. They did a good job of conveying that. And so, like I said, I didn't know anything about this guy. I didn't know about the story before going to see the movie. And then after the movie, I went and did some research, and it's some more intriguing things that went on. It's some corruption that goes on with the police department, Detroit Police Department, which they show in the movie, but it gets even deeper once you do the research. This guy named Gil Hill, he actually played the lieutenant, I believe, in Beverly Hills Cop, the Eddie Murphy movie. He's the one that's always cussing out Eddie Murphy in Beverly Hills Cop, the first Beverly Hills. He was actually a police officer in real life, and also the president of the Detroit City Council. And when I was doing the research, it's rumored to believe he had people killed. He was corrupt himself. So it gets even more intriguing once you dive into the real story. So I would give this movie an A. Only problem I had with it is not really a problem, because I didn't know until after the fact. Is some of the timelines I reversed, like certain situations that happened in one year that they showed in the movie really happened in a different year. I don't know why the director and writers chose to do that, but like I said, I didn't have no problem with the movie. That's the only thing I found out until after I did some research. But it doesn't ruin the movie nonetheless, unless you know that before you go into the movies, unless you know the whole story before you go into the movies. Anyway, go see it. I don't know if it's going to be in the theater by the time this goes online. I saw it 2 weeks ago. I didn't get a chance to do the review last week like I wanted to. And by the time I send this to Audio Liquor, I don't know when they're going to put it up. So it's not doing too well in the box office, which I don't understand. I don't like, because this is a good movie. I wish more people would go see it. So if it's still at the theaters after you see this review and you're intrigued, go see it. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about Ozark Season 2, which is on Netflix, and Snowfall Season 2, which is on FX. This guy I know, he said to me he thought that Snowfall was better than Power, the TV series Power, the Stars series Power. I guess you can call this the drug dealing review, because all of the movie White Boy Rick and the 3 series I'm talking about all have to do with drug dealing in some aspect or another. But when he said that he thought Snowfall was better than Power, I kind of agree with him, but at the same time, like, it's kind of premature to say that, because I think Power's like in his 5th or 6th season, and you only have 2 seasons for Snowfall, so you don't really have a lot to judge it on. But that being said, I think this 2nd season of Snowfall was better than the last few seasons of Power. Maybe better than the whole series itself. I don't know. I'll have to go back and watch those earlier seasons of Power. I really was digging the first few seasons of Power, but they did some things that I totally didn't agree with. A character who they kind of made up for this season gets killed off this season, but I thought that character should have got killed off long time ago. I thought he wedged himself into the series because he was one of the producers or executive producers, and I thought that killed the series, almost killed the series for me. It's still watchable for me. You know, I'm in a minority with that because people tend to love Power, but it brought the series down to me, and I really didn't dig it as much after that. It has become like a soap opera to me, so I don't have it at a high level as a lot of other people have it. So I kind of agree with the guy when he says Snowfall is better, just based off 2 seasons. So if you haven't seen Snowfall, you need to check it out. The 2nd season was even better than the 1st season. I would definitely give that an A. The 2nd season of Snowfall an A. If you don't know what it's about, I did a detailed review of the 1st season last year. I'm going to give you a quick synopsis of what it's about. Is when crack cocaine first hit Los Angeles in the 80s. So you have another drug dealing story that happened in the 80s, like White Boy Rick. And then I would highly suggest you watch Ozark Season 2. If you haven't seen Ozark Season 1, you need to watch both seasons. This is a great Netflix series. It's one of the best Netflix series that no one is seeming to talk about or aware of. I did a detailed review again last year about Season 1 of Ozark. I'll give you a quick synopsis again of what it's about. It's about this guy named Marty Bird, who's an accountant. He happens to get into laundering money for the Mexican cartel, drug cartels. Something goes wrong. I'm not going to spoil it. If you haven't seen Season 1, he has to move to Ozark. I think Ozark is in somewhere in Missouri. If I got my geographic thing right. And he has to go down there. It's kind of rural area, country area, a lot of lakes, rivers, things of that nature. And he has to drag his family down there, his wife and 2 kids, his daughter and son. And he has to he has to clean his money for the Mexican cartel when he's down there, as opposed to when he was living in Chicago. So you have a lot of drama, a lot of issues, a lot of challenges trying to clean all this money for them so they won't kill off him and his family. And I think it's a great series. I think it's like I said, kind of premature because only 2 seasons, but it's getting to that Breaking Bad elite level for me so far. Highly recommend you see that. That's an A+. Yes, I'm calling the first 2 seasons classic material so far. I don't normally give A+ to anything, but I'm giving these 2 seasons A+. Season 2 is good. Not as good as the first season, I would say, but just a little bit under it. Not really that much difference. So you need to check that out if you haven't seen it. There you go. I'm done. I'm finished. There you have it.